Have you ever found yourself stuck in a cycle of giving too much to someone who barely notices your efforts? You wait, you hope, and you pour your energy into trying to make them see your worth. But instead of gratitude or respect, you're met with indifference or worse, contempt. The more you try to prove your value, the less they seem to care. Why is it that the harder you work to win their approval, the more they pull away? Is it possible that in your effort to be everything for them, you've lost sight of being true to yourself? Contempt doesn't arise from hate. It arises from familiarity, from the perception that you'll always be there no matter how little they give in return. If this resonates with you, know that you're not alone. And even more importantly, know that it doesn't have to stay this way. Imagine this. Instead of chasing their attention, you become someone they can't stop thinking about. Instead of bending over backward to make them notice you, you live your life with such confidence and purpose that they are forced to reconsider everything they thought about you. You don't just reclaim your power, you redefine the entire relationship dynamic. How? By embodying the principles of Stoicism and implementing 9 transformative steps that will not only end their contempt but make them regret ever taking you for granted. Let me ask you, are you ready to stop being the afterthought? To reclaim your self-worth and make them see what they've lost? Stay with me until the end of this journey because the final step will transform how you approach relationships forever. Let's begin. Step 1. Recognize your self-worth. How often do you look to others to validate your value? Be honest. How much of your happiness is tied to their approval, their affection, or their attention? If you're here, it's likely that you've been giving your power away, allowing someone else to define your self-worth. But let's pause and ask a vital question. Why do you need their recognition to feel valuable? Your worth is not a prize they bestow upon you, it is something you already possess. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." Similarly, waste no more time hoping someone will see your value. Instead, embody it. Self-worth is not about being chosen by someone else, it's about choosing yourself. Contempt often arises when we offer ourselves too freely, making it too easy for others to disregard our efforts. Think about it. Do you truly respect things that come to you without any effort? Or do you value what you had to work for, what you had to earn? The same principle applies here. When you undervalue yourself, you inadvertently teach others to do the same. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Where have you been giving without receiving? Where have you been lowering your standards in the hope that they will finally appreciate you? Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the actions or thoughts of others, only our own. If you want others to respect you, you must first respect yourself. Now, let's turn this realization into action. Start small. When was the last time you told yourself, "I am enough"? Say it out loud. Feel the power of those words. Because you are enough, not because of what you give or how you serve others, but simply because you are. Every day affirm this truth. I am the prize. Let it become a mantra that reminds you of your innate worth, even in moments of doubt. Imagine the version of yourself who fully embraces this truth. How does that version of you walk, speak, and carry themselves? How does that version of you respond to someone who fails to see your value? When you embrace your self-worth, you stop chasing others. And when you stop chasing, everything changes. The next step builds on this foundation. Once you recognize your worth, it's time to protect it. In the following section, we'll explore how to stop overgiving and start setting boundaries that reinforce the value you've just rediscovered. Are you ready? Let's move forward. Step 2. Stop overgiving and set boundaries. When was the last time you paused to ask yourself, how much am I giving and what am I receiving in return? If you're reading this, chances are you've been pouring out your time, energy, and love for someone who hasn't earned it. Maybe you've convinced yourself that being endlessly available will eventually make them notice your efforts. But here's the hard truth. Overgiving doesn't earn respect, it diminishes it. Why? Because people don't value what they don't have to work for. When you're always there, always giving, you create the illusion that your time and energy are infinite. They begin to assume they can access you whenever they please, without effort or reciprocation. and over time they stop appreciating it altogether. Have you noticed this pattern in your relationships? If so, it's time to break the cycle. To break free, you must stop overgiving and set boundaries. Setting boundaries is not about punishing others, it's about protecting yourself. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define what you will and won't tolerate. They send a clear message. I respect myself enough to say no when something doesn't serve me. Think about your current situation. Where have you allowed others to cross your boundaries? Is it answering their texts at midnight when you're exhausted? Always rearranging your plans to accommodate theirs? Saying yes when your heart is screaming no? Recognizing these moments is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Stoicism, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your boundaries are an extension of that power. They are not about controlling others, they are about controlling how you allow others to treat you. So how do you begin to set boundaries? Start by asking yourself what you need. Do you need more time for yourself? More reciprocity in your relationships? More respect for your emotions? Once you know your needs, communicate them clearly and calmly. For example, I can't always be available at the last minute. Please give me notice next time. I need to focus on myself right now, so I won't be able to keep doing this for you. I can't stay in a relationship where I feel unappreciated. At first, it might feel uncomfortable. You may worry about their reaction. Will they pull away? Will they resent you? These fears are natural, but remember, those who truly value you will respect your boundaries, not challenge them. And those who don't, they were never meant to stay. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you're saying yes to yourself. And as you strengthen your boundaries, you'll notice a powerful shift. You'll start attracting relationships that are balanced and reciprocal, built on mutual respect instead of one-sided effort. Now, let me ask you, have you ever set a boundary and felt the immediate relief of reclaiming your space? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else to take this vital step. And if this message resonates with you, show your support by liking this video. It's a simple way to affirm, I deserve respect, and I'm ready to claim it. In the next step, we'll explore the transformative power of emotional detachment, an essential practice for maintaining the boundaries you've just set. Are you ready to take your control to the next level? Let's keep going. Step 3. Practice emotional detachment. Imagine this, you've set boundaries, pulled back your energy, and started reclaiming your power. But then they text you out of the blue, or their actions stir up emotions you thought you'd mastered. Suddenly, the boundaries you've worked so hard to establish feel fragile, and you're tempted to fall back into old habits. Why does this happen? Because emotional detachment is the missing piece. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting their behavior dictate your inner peace. It's about responding thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. In the words of Stoic philosopher Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Let's reflect on how often you've let their actions, or lack thereof, control your emotions. Do you spiral into anxiety when they don't respond? Feel euphoric when they show attention, only to crash when they withdraw it again? These emotional highs and lows aren't just exhausting, they're a form of power you've handed over to them. It's time to take it back. To practice emotional detachment, you must first recognize the triggers. What patterns in their behavior send your emotions into overdrive? Is it their unpredictability, their silence, or their mixed signals? Awareness is your first line of defense. Once you identify these triggers, you can start building your emotional armor. The next step is to pause before reacting. Imagine yourself as a rock in the middle of a stormy sea. The waves of their actions may crash against you, but you remain unmoved. Before responding to their texts, their provocations, or their absence, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, am I reacting out of emotion, or am I responding with intention? This practice may feel difficult at first, especially if your emotions have been closely tied to their behavior for a long time. But like a muscle, detachment grows stronger with use. And with it comes clarity, the ability to see their actions for what they truly are, rather than what your emotions want them to be. Let's look at this through the lens of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius said, You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Emotional detachment is a way of reclaiming that power. You cannot control how they act, but you can control how you respond. And when you master this, you become untouchable. Emotional detachment also sends a powerful message. When you no longer react to their games or breadcrumbs of attention, they begin to notice the change. They see that their ability to affect you has diminished, and it forces them to reevaluate their perception of you. Contempt often arises when someone feels they have complete control over your emotions. By taking that control back, you shift the dynamic. Remember, this isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about prioritizing your peace of mind above all else. Emotional detachment allows you to engage with others from a place of strength rather than need. It frees you to live fully without being tethered to their actions. So, how do you know you're making progress? You'll notice that their behavior no longer holds the same power over you. Their silence won't cause you to doubt your worth. Their attention won't send you into a state of dependence. You'll feel calmer, more grounded, and in control of your responses. In the next step, we'll explore how to amplify this newfound strength by letting them feel your absence, a strategy that not only reinforces your emotional detachment, but makes them start to truly regret their actions. Let's move forward. Step 4. Let them feel your absence. Silence has a power that words often cannot match. When you've spent so much time being present, texting first, making plans, always being available, you may not realize how impactful your absence can be. But here's the truth. People rarely value what they never fear losing. If someone has taken you for granted, the most profound wake-up call you can give them is to let them feel what life is like without you. Think about this. When was the last time they had to wonder about you? Wonder where you were, what you were doing, or why you weren't reaching out? If the answer is never, then they've likely become comfortable, even complacent, in the belief that you'll always be there. Your consistent availability has become a security blanket, one they've stopped appreciating. It's time to take that blanket away. This doesn't mean playing games or manipulating their emotions. It's about creating space for them to realize the value you bring to their life and the void that forms in your absence. When you step back, you give them the chance to reflect, to question, and perhaps to regret the way they've treated you. The key here is discipline. Stepping back is not easy, especially if you've been deeply invested in a relationship. You might feel the urge to check in, to send that just seeing how you're doing text, or to respond immediately if they reach out. But Stoicism teaches us the value of restraint. As Epictetus said, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. In this case, your response is silence, not as a weapon, but as a boundary. What happens when they feel your absence? At first, they might not notice, but as the days go by, they'll start to wonder. Your silence will disrupt their expectations, forcing them to confront the reality of what they've lost or risk losing. They'll think about the text you're no longer sending, the support you're no longer providing, and the warmth you're no longer offering. And that's when the realization begins to take hold. Let's pause and reflect. Why is absence so powerful? Because it shifts the focus. When you're always present, they focus on what you're giving, not who you are. But when you're absent, they're left with themselves and the undeniable truth of what they've taken for granted. It's in this void that regret starts to grow. But here's the most important part. Your absence is not about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming the time and energy you've been pouring into someone who hasn't earned it. It's about redirecting that energy toward your own growth, your own happiness, and your own peace. By stepping back, you're not just creating space for them to reflect, you're creating space for yourself to heal and thrive. During this time, focus on your own journey. Revisit hobbies you've neglected, reconnect with friends you've drifted from, and invest in goals that inspire you. Absence is not idleness, it's a purposeful redirection of your energy toward what truly matters. This step is a test of patience and resolve. You may not see immediate results, and that's okay. Remember, Stoicism teaches us to let go of attachment to outcomes. Your goal is not to force their regret, it's to regain your independence and self-respect. If they realize your worth, it will be because they've felt the void you've left behind. And if they don't, you'll be better off having shifted your focus to those who truly value you. In the next step, we'll delve deeper into how this absence empowers you by helping you reclaim your personal power, an essential step in breaking free from their control and building a life that centers on your needs and values. Let's keep moving. Step 5. Reclaim your personal power. Let's be honest, how much of your emotional energy has been tied up in their actions? How many days have you spent analyzing their words, waiting for their attention, or adjusting your life to accommodate them? If you're like most people in this situation, the answer is likely far too many. The reality is, the more you allow someone to dictate your emotions, the more power you hand over to them. But what if you could take that power back? Reclaiming your personal power begins with a simple but profound shift. Stop living for their approval and start living for yourself. This is where Stoicism becomes a vital tool. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Your happiness, your sense of worth, and your peace of mind, all of these are within your control. It's time to stop letting their behavior define your value. Think about this. When they know they can control your emotions, they don't have to put in effort. They don't have to text first because they know you will. They don't have to show respect because they know you'll tolerate the disrespect. But when you reclaim your personal power, you disrupt this pattern. You show them and yourself that your happiness is not contingent on their actions. The first step is to set boundaries around your emotional energy. Imagine your energy as a limited resource, like a bank account. Would you keep spending money on someone who never deposits anything in return? Of course not. So why continue spending emotional energy on someone who doesn't reciprocate? Begin by choosing where and how you invest your emotions. Save them for those who uplift and respect you, not those who drain you. Next, focus on rediscovering your passions. What lights you up? What activities, hobbies, or goals have you set aside while chasing their approval? By dedicating your time to what fulfills you, you reclaim not only your energy but also your identity. You become more than someone waiting for their attention, you become someone thriving in your own right. Here's the real magic of reclaiming your power. It changes the way they see you. When you stop chasing, they start noticing. When you invest in yourself, they start wondering where their influence went. People are drawn to confidence, and nothing exudes confidence more than someone who prioritizes their own growth and happiness. But let's be clear, this isn't about manipulating them into wanting you back. It's about genuinely becoming the best version of yourself. If they regret their actions along the way, that's their journey, not yours. Your focus is on building a life so fulfilling that their approval becomes irrelevant. Now let me ask you, what's one area of your life where you've been holding back, waiting for their validation? Is it pursuing a dream, reconnecting with friends, or even just taking better care of yourself? Share it in the comments below. Your intention could inspire others to take action. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment to like this video. It's a small way of affirming, I'm ready to reclaim my power and put myself first. In the next step, we'll explore how to use this reclaimed power to build a life that's fulfilling, vibrant, and entirely independent of their influence. You won't want to miss it. Let's continue. Step 6. Build a life independent of them. Imagine your life as a grand house with many rooms. Each room represents an area of your life, your passions, friendships, goals, and personal growth. Now think about how much time you've spent sitting in just one room waiting for them to join you, while the rest of the house remains empty and neglected. This is what happens when you center your life around another person. The good news: you hold the key to every door, and it's time to start exploring. Building a life independent of them isn't just about moving on, it's about thriving. It's about creating a life so rich and fulfilling that their presence or absence no longer defines your happiness. When you focus on yourself, you not only reclaim your energy but also discover the joy of living fully, without the weight of their approval. Start by asking yourself, what have I been neglecting in my own life? Have you let go of hobbies that used to bring you joy? Have you drifted away from friendships or put personal goals on hold? These are the areas that need your attention now. Redirecting your energy toward them will not only fill your life with purpose but also remind you of the vibrant person you are. Consider this. What would your ideal day look like if it were entirely for you? Would you spend it pursuing a creative passion, exploring nature, or reconnecting with old friends? The beauty of this exercise is that it shifts your focus away from them and toward yourself. Each step you take toward living fully is a step away from the patterns that kept you tethered to their indifference. Stoicism offers a powerful lens here. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life." When you embrace this mindset, you stop waiting for their recognition and start acting in ways that bring meaning to your life right now. Life is too short to put your happiness on hold for someone else. As you rebuild, don't be surprised if they start to notice. When you stop centering them, you become the mystery they can't ignore. Your absence from their world, coupled with your flourishing independence, creates a stark contrast. But here's the key. Their reaction doesn't matter. Your growth isn't about drawing them back, it's about stepping forward into the life you deserve. This journey also requires self-compassion. There will be moments when you feel tempted to fall back into old habits, checking their social media, seeking their validation, or wondering what they're thinking. In these moments, remind yourself of this truth. The life you are building is worth far more than the fleeting satisfaction of their attention. Picture your life 1 year from now, brimming with the fruits of your independence. Imagine the confidence that comes from living authentically, the joy of pursuing your passions, and the strength of surrounding yourself with people who value and uplift you. This is the life you are creating, a life that thrives regardless of whether they're in it or not. In the next step, we'll address the art of letting go, a practice that solidifies the independence you're cultivating and frees you from the chains of lingering attachment. Let's keep going. Step 7. Master the art of letting go. Letting go, 2 simple words, yet one of the hardest things to do. If you're honest with yourself, how much of your energy is still tied to the hope that they'll come back, the longing for their recognition, or the replaying of old memories in your mind? Holding on feels safe, even familiar, but in reality, it keeps you tethered to a past that no longer serves you. Letting go is not about forgetting, it's about freeing yourself. Why is letting go so difficult? Because it feels like a loss. You've invested so much, your time, your emotions, your dreams, and walking away feels like admitting defeat. But here's a truth rooted in Stoicism. What is truly yours cannot be taken from you, and what isn't meant for you will never stay, no matter how tightly you hold on. Epictetus taught, "He who is not enslaved by things, nor by anxiety about things which are not in his control, is free." This wisdom reminds us that clinging to what we cannot control only deepens our suffering. When you hold on to someone who doesn't reciprocate your efforts, you give them power over your happiness. Letting go is an act of reclaiming that power. Begin by accepting reality for what it is, not for what you wish it to be. Has this relationship brought you peace, or has it drained you? Have they met you with respect and effort, or have they relied on your willingness to give without limits? Answering these questions honestly helps you see the situation clearly, not through the lens of emotion but through the lens of truth. Next, release the idea that letting go means failure. Letting go is not about giving up, it's about choosing yourself. Picture this. You're holding a rope tightly, pulling with all your strength, but the other end is tied to something that won't move. The longer you pull, the more exhausted you become. Letting go of the rope doesn't mean you've lost, it means you've chosen to stop expending energy where it's not serving you. This process isn't instant. Letting go is a practice, not a one-time decision. It requires patience and self-compassion. Some days you'll feel strong and resolute, and others you may feel the pull of old patterns. On those days, remind yourself of what you're gaining: freedom, clarity, and the space to build a future that aligns with your worth. A powerful way to support this practice is by focusing on the present moment. When thoughts of the past creep in, ground yourself in the now. What can you see, hear, or feel in this very moment? By anchoring yourself in the present, you loosen the grip of past attachments. As you let go, you may notice a surprising shift. The space you create in your life, once filled with longing or regret, begins to fill with new opportunities. Relationships that honor your worth, passions that reignite your joy, and a sense of peace you may not have felt in a long time. Letting go is not the end, it's the beginning. Stoicism reminds us that true freedom comes from within. You cannot control who stays or goes, but you can control the energy you hold on to. When you release what no longer serves you, you make room for what does. In the next step, we'll explore how to fortify this freedom by building an emotional resilience that ensures no one else can disrupt the peace you've worked so hard to achieve. Let's move forward. Step 8. Build emotional resilience. Have you ever noticed how easily someone's actions, or even their silence, can disrupt your entire mood? A delayed text, a dismissive comment, or even their lack of effort can send you spiraling into doubt, anger, or sadness. But imagine if their behavior no longer held that power over you. What if, no matter what they did, you remained calm, steady, and grounded? That's the strength of emotional resilience, a skill you can develop to protect your peace. Emotional resilience doesn't mean you're immune to feelings. It means you experience emotions without letting them control you. Think of yourself as a tree in a storm. The wind may bend your branches, but your roots remain firmly in the ground. No matter how hard the storm rages, you stand tall. This is what Stoicism teaches. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The actions of others may shake you temporarily, but they don't have to uproot your inner calm. To start building resilience, focus on what you can control, your reactions. When something triggers you, take a moment to pause and breathe before responding. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Is this worth disrupting my peace? More often than not, the answer will be no. This pause creates space for a thoughtful response rather than an impulsive reaction. Another key to resilience is reframing your perspective. For example, instead of interpreting their lack of effort as a reflection of your worth, see it for what it is. A reflection of their own limitations. Their actions or inactions say more about them than they do about you. When you separate their behavior from your self-esteem, you protect yourself from unnecessary emotional turbulence. Developing resilience also means investing in your well-being. Physical self-care, such as regular exercise, healthy eating, and adequate rest, builds the foundation for emotional strength. When your body feels strong and cared for, your mind becomes more capable of weathering challenges. Combine this with mental self-care, like journaling or practicing gratitude, to reinforce your emotional armor. Let's not forget the importance of boundaries in emotional resilience. If certain situations or people consistently drain you, it's okay to step back. Distance isn't about avoidance, it's about preservation. As you fortify your emotional resilience, you'll find that you no longer feel obligated to engage with negativity or disrespect. The beauty of emotional resilience is that it changes the dynamic. When they realize their actions no longer affect you, their power diminishes. They'll wonder why you're unshaken, why you no longer react the way you once did. This shift often sparks regret as they begin to understand the strength you've developed in their absence. Now let me ask you, what's one situation where you've let someone else dictate your emotions? Reflect on how you reacted and consider how emotional resilience could change the outcome. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insight might inspire someone else to take control of their peace. And if this step resonates with you, show your support by liking this video. It's a small but meaningful way of affirming your commitment to emotional growth. In the final step, we'll tie everything together by reinforcing your self-respect, a vital cornerstone for maintaining the transformation you've worked so hard to achieve. Let's finish strong. Step 9. Stand firm in your self-respect. Self-respect is the foundation of every decision you make and every boundary you set. Without it, you leave yourself vulnerable to mistreatment, manipulation, and cycles of emotional exhaustion. To truly end their contempt and make them regret their actions, you must anchor yourself in unwavering self-respect. But what does that look like in practice? Self-respect begins with the belief that you are worthy of love, dignity, and effort, not because of what you do for others, but simply because of who you are. Yet, when you allow someone to treat you as an option or an afterthought, you send the opposite message. You implicitly say, "It's okay to disrespect me, as long as you stay." This stops now. Standing firm in your self-respect means drawing a line in the sand and refusing to let anyone cross it. It's about declaring, "This is what I deserve, and if you can't meet it, I won't stay." This is not about creating conflict or issuing ultimatums. It's about quietly and confidently holding yourself to a higher standard. And the truth is, those who cannot meet that standard will fall away. Let them. When you respect yourself, others begin to see you differently. Contempt thrives in relationships where one person consistently gives without limits while the other takes without gratitude. But when you stand tall in your worth, you disrupt this imbalance. You demand respect not through words but through actions, by refusing to entertain anything less. This strength is rooted in Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." Your ambition should include a life filled with mutual respect, appreciation, and dignity. Anything less is not worth your time. To live according to this principle, you must first believe it yourself. Respect starts from within. One way to cultivate this belief is to reflect on your past. Think about the moments when you tolerated disrespect. How did it make you feel? What were the long-term effects? Use these reflections not as a source of shame, but as a lesson. Let them guide you toward a future where your self-respect remains non-negotiable. Another critical aspect of standing firm is consistency. It's not enough to set boundaries once, you must reinforce them daily. This requires courage, especially when faced with people who resist your newfound strength. But remember, self-respect is not about convincing others. It's about remaining true to yourself, regardless of their response. In standing firm, you may notice something remarkable. The dynamics in your relationships will shift. Those who once took you for granted may begin to see you in a new light. Their regret will come not from your words, but from the undeniable truth of your transformation. They'll see that you're no longer the person who bends, pleads, or waits. You've become someone who demands and deserves better. This is the final piece of the puzzle. Self-respect solidifies all the steps you've taken so far, from setting boundaries to building resilience. It ensures that the changes you've made are not temporary but enduring. With self-respect as your foundation, you are unshakable, no matter who stays or leaves. And here's the ultimate truth. Standing firm in your self-respect isn't about them. It's about you. It's about living a life where you no longer seek validation from others because you found it within yourself. In doing so, you don't just end their contempt, you rise above it, creating a life filled with meaning, purpose, and peace. You've reached the end of this journey, but it's only the beginning of your transformation. From here, you step forward not as someone seeking their approval, but as someone who knows their worth and demands nothing less. This is your time to thrive. Let nothing and no one hold you back. You've journeyed through the 9 transformative steps to end their contempt and make them regret their actions. But what's most important is not their regret, it's your growth. This isn't about revenge or proving a point. It's about reclaiming your power, rediscovering your worth, and rebuilding a life that centers on your happiness, not theirs. At every step, you've learned to prioritize yourself, recognizing your self-worth, setting boundaries, practicing emotional detachment, and building resilience. You've embraced the art of letting go and cultivated a life so fulfilling that their presence or absence becomes irrelevant. This isn't just a series of actions, it's a mindset, one deeply rooted in Stoicism. The lessons of resilience, focus, and self-control will guide you not only in this relationship, but in every relationship and challenge you encounter moving forward. So what's next? You live these truths every single day. You commit to them not for their sake, but for yours. You keep growing, building, and thriving. And if they regret their actions along the way, let that regret be their lesson, not your burden. Let me ask you one final question. Who are you becoming now? How will the person you are today shape the life you want tomorrow? Reflect on this deeply, because the answers lie within you, not in anyone else's validation. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If these steps resonated with you, if you feel empowered to take control of your life, I encourage you to share your experience in the comments. Let others see your strength and transformation. Like this video to affirm your commitment to this path, and subscribe for more insights rooted in Stoicism and personal growth. Remember, this is only the beginning. You are the prize, and your journey is yours to shape. Wishing you peace, strength, and endless growth as you move forward. Stay strong, and until next time, live boldly and with purpose.